The insult. In the year 20,753, humanity thought it was ready for first contact. They couldn't have been more wrong. The massive Galactic Council ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning, its sleek, crystalline structure dwarfing even the largest of human space stations. World leaders scrambled to compose a welcoming committee, selecting Dr. Evelyn Chen, Earth's foremost xenolinguist and diplomat, to lead the delegation. As Evelyn's shuttle approached the alien vessel, her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Years of training had prepared her for this moment, or so she believed. The shuttle docked smoothly, and Evelyn led her team through the airlock, stepping onto the deck of humanity's first alien encounter. The interior of the ship was a marvel of bioorganic technology, pulsing with soft bioluminescence. Evelyn's team gaped in awe, but she maintained her composure, focusing on the task at hand. They were led to a vast, circular chamber where representatives of a dozen alien species awaited them. At the center stood High Counselor Zixara, a towering, multi-limbed being with iridescent scales and piercing, compound eyes. Evelyn stepped forward, bowing deeply in a gesture of respect. "Greetings, honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "On behalf of Earth and all of humanity, we welcome you and express our deepest hope for peaceful cooperation and mutual understanding." The chamber fell silent. Then, unexpectedly, a ripple of laughter spread through the alien delegates. Evelyn faltered, confusion etched on her face. High Counselor Zixara's mandibles clicked in what Evelyn would later recognize as amusement. "Oh, you poor, primitive creatures," Zixara's voice boomed, translated through some unseen technology. "You actually believe you have something to offer the Galactic Council." Evelyn's blood ran cold. This was not the warm welcome she had anticipated. I don't understand," she stammered. "We come in peace, eager to learn and share." Zixara cut her off with a dismissive wave of one of their four arms. "Let me make this simple for your underdeveloped minds. Your planet has resources we desire. Your species is barely out of its evolutionary diapers. You have two choices: submit to our rule and serve as a protectorate, or be annihilated." The human delegation exchanged horrified glances. Evelyn fought to maintain her diplomatic composure. "Surely there must be room for negotiation. We may be young as a spacefaring species, but we have much to offer in terms of culture, art, and unique perspectives." Another wave of laughter swept through the chamber. A squat, gelatinous being oozed forward, its speech bubbling from what appeared to be a mouth. "Culture, art, we have catalogued the rise and fall of millions of civilizations far greater than yours. Your unique perspectives are nothing but the babbling of cosmic infants." Evelyn felt her cheeks burn with humiliation. She had trained for many scenarios, but outright dismissal and mockery, this was beyond her worst nightmares. Zixara's voice cut through the laughter. "You have one Earth year to prepare your planet for integration into the Galactic Council as a protectorate. Resist, and we will turn your world to ash. Now, leave our presence. The sight of you is beginning to bore us." Stunned and shaken, Evelyn and her team were unceremoniously escorted back to their shuttle. As they disembarked, Evelyn caught a glimpse of her reflection in the shuttle's viewport. The woman staring back at her looked defeated, humiliated, but deep in her eyes, a spark of defiance began to flicker. The return to Earth was somber. News of the encounter spread rapidly, throwing the planet into a state of panic and outrage. Emergency meetings of the United Earth Council were called, and Evelyn found herself recounting the humiliating experience over and over. In one such meeting, General Marcus Steele, head of Earth's combined military forces, slammed his fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We cannot simply roll over and become slaves to these alien bastards. What choice do we have?" asked a trembling council member. "You heard their threats. They could destroy us at any moment." Evelyn, who had been silent until now, stood up. The room fell quiet, all eyes turning to her. "No," she said, her voice filled with a steely resolve that surprised even her. "We do have a choice. We choose to fight." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the room. "Fight?" Someone scoffed. "With what? Did you see their technology? We'd be obliterated." Evelyn's eyes blazed with determination. "They underestimate us. They see us as primitive, weak. But that's our advantage. Humanity has always thrived when backed into a corner. We have 1 year. 1 year to pull off the greatest technological leap in our history." General Steele nodded slowly, a grim smile forming on his face. "Dr. Chen is right. We've faced extinction-level threats before and survived. If these aliens want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget." The room erupted into heated discussion. Plans were proposed and discarded rapidly. Finally, a consensus emerged. Earth would appear to submit, all while secretly preparing for war. As the meeting adjourned, Evelyn felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading quantum physicist. "Dr. Chen," Yuki said, her eyes gleaming with excitement, "I think I might have an idea that could turn the tables on these aliens. But it's risky, and we'll need every brilliant mind on the planet working together." Evelyn nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time since the disastrous first contact. "Whatever it takes, Dr. Tanaka. Humanity's future depends on it." As news of the Galactic Council's ultimatum spread, Earth experienced a period of initial panic followed by an unprecedented global unity. Old rivalries and conflicts were set aside in the face of this existential threat. The public story was one of reluctant acceptance of protectorate status, but behind the scenes, every resource was poured into a secret war effort. Operation Trojan Horse, as it came to be known, was the most ambitious and secretive project in human history. Hidden bases were established on the far side of the moon and in the asteroid belt. Every scientist, engineer, and strategist worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and technology. Dr. Tanaka's breakthrough came in the field of quantum entanglement. She discovered a way to create a network of instantly communicating particles, potentially allowing for faster-than-light communication and, theoretically, teleportation. If they could scale it up, it could revolutionize space warfare. Meanwhile, General Steele oversaw the development of new weapons and defenses. Artificial intelligence systems were integrated into battle simulations, analyzing every scrap of data from the Galactic Council encounter to find weaknesses. Evelyn found herself at the heart of these efforts, coordinating between different teams and using her linguistic skills to decipher the alien technology they had glimpsed. The spark of defiance that had ignited in her during that first humiliating encounter had grown into a burning determination. As the months passed, Earth transformed. To the outside observer, it appeared as though humanity was meekly preparing for its new role as a protectorate. But beneath the surface, a sleeping giant was awakening, ready to show the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into the night. The stage was set. In less than a year, the galaxy would learn the true strength of the human spirit. The countdown to humanity's greatest war had begun. Preparation. The following months saw Earth transform into a hive of clandestine activity. On the surface, life seemed to continue as normal, with governments publicly announcing preparations for integration into the Galactic Council. But beneath this facade of compliance, Operation Trojan Horse was in full swing. Hidden laboratories sprung up in the most unlikely places. The Mariana Trench became home to a sprawling underwater research facility, while the heart of the Sahara concealed a vast subterranean weapons development center. Even the peaks of the Himalayas housed secret communication arrays, their signals masked by the planet's natural electromagnetic fields. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's quantum entanglement breakthrough became the cornerstone of Earth's defense strategy. In a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, she led a team of the world's brightest minds in developing what they called the quantum mesh, a network of entangled particles that could potentially allow for instantaneous communication and coordination across vast distances of space. "If we can make this work, Yuki explained to a rapt audience of military leaders and scientists, her eyes gleaming with excitement. We'll have an advantage the Galactic Council can't even imagine. Their faster-than-light technology will be obsolete compared to true instantaneous transmission. General Marcus Steele nodded grimly. And how close are we to weaponizing this technology, Dr. Tanaka? Yuki's expression turned serious. We're making progress on quantum torpedoes, weapons that could theoretically bypass traditional defenses by partially existing in multiple spaces simultaneously. But we're still months away from a working prototype. We may not have months, Steele growled. Intelligence suggests the Council is getting suspicious of our activities. We need results, and we need them now. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Evelyn Chen, who had been silently observing the meeting, rushed to a nearby console. Her face paled as she read the incoming transmission. "It's the Council," she announced, her voice tight with tension. "They're demanding an inspection of Earth's military capabilities. They'll be here in 48 hours. The room erupted into chaos. Months of careful preparation were at risk of being exposed. Steele's voice cut through the panic. "Initiate Protocol Mirage. We need to hide everything." Over the next 2 days, Earth engaged in the greatest feat of misdirection in its history. Holographic technology, hastily perfected, was used to conceal the true extent of human advancement. Underground facilities were disguised as ordinary military bases. The quantum mesh was temporarily shut down to avoid detection. When the Council's inspection team arrived, led by the sneering sub-councilor Vexlor, they found exactly what they expected: a primitive species scrambling to meet the basic requirements of protectorate status. Evelyn, once again serving as Earth's representative, led the inspection tour. Every step was agony, every condescending remark from Vexlor a test of her self-control. But she maintained her composure, playing the role of the submissive, grateful primitive to perfection. As the inspection concluded, Vexlor turned to Evelyn with a look of smug satisfaction. "Well, it seems you humans can follow simple instructions after all. Your pitiful attempts at upgrading your technology are almost adorable. The Council will be pleased to know that Earth poses no threat whatsoever." Evelyn bowed low, hiding the fire in her eyes. "We are honored by the Council's attention. Sub-Councilor, Earth looks forward to serving the greater galactic community." As the Council ship departed, a collective sigh of relief echoed across the planet. They had bought themselves more time, but at a cost. The taste of humiliation was bitter in Evelyn's mouth as she watched the ship disappear into the stars. In the aftermath of the inspection, Earth's leaders gathered once more. The close call had shaken them, but also strengthened their resolve. "We can't risk another inspection," Steele declared. "We need to accelerate our plans. Dr. Tanaka, how soon can we have a working prototype of the quantum torpedoes?" Yuki bit her lip, her mind racing through calculations. "With every resource at our disposal and round-the-clock work, maybe 3 months. But they won't be fully tested." "It'll have to do," Evelyn interjected. "I've been analyzing the Council's communication patterns. They're planning something big, and I don't think we have much more than 3 months before they make their move." The next 3 months were a blur of feverish activity. Every human on Earth, whether they knew it or not, was now part of the war effort. Industries were secretly retooled to produce components for the quantum weapons. The quantum mesh was expanded to cover the entire solar system, hiding in the background radiation of space. Evelyn found herself working closely with both Yuki and General Steele, her linguistic skills proving invaluable in deciphering more of the Council's technology and intentions. Late one night, as they pored over the latest intelligence reports, Evelyn made a startling discovery. "They're not just planning to subjugate us," she breathed, her eyes wide with horror. "They're going to use Earth as a testing ground for a new type of planetary strip mining. They'll destroy the entire biosphere in the process." The news galvanized the human resistance. Any lingering doubts about the necessity of their actions were erased. This was no longer just a fight for independence. It was a battle for survival. As the deadline approached, tensions reached a fever pitch. The first quantum torpedoes were rushed into production, untested and volatile. The quantum mesh was pushed to its limits, covering an ever-expanding area of space with its invisible net. Earth's fleet, hidden in the shadows of distant moons and asteroids, prepared for what could be humanity's final battle. Steele's strategy was daring, bordering on insane, a surprise attack on the Council's capital world itself. "If we can take out their leadership in one swift strike," he explained to a room full of grim-faced commanders, "we might just have a chance of throwing the entire Council into chaos." The plan was set. In 72 hours, Earth would reveal its true face to the galaxy. As Evelyn looked out at the stars from the bridge of humanity's secret flagship, she felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. They were about to challenge beings who saw themselves as gods. But if there was one thing Evelyn had learned in her years of studying alien cultures, it was this: gods can bleed. And humanity was about to teach the Galactic Council a lesson it would never forget. The final hours before the attack were a maelstrom of activity. On Earth, the last of the quantum torpedoes were loaded onto stealth shuttles, ready to be transported to the waiting fleet. The quantum mesh hummed with encrypted communications, coordinating the most ambitious military operation in human history. In orbit around Titan, Saturn's largest moon, the Earth fleet made final preparations. Ships that had been hidden and developed in secret over the past year gleamed in the dim sunlight, their hulls incorporating technology reverse-engineered from the scraps of information gathered during the Council's visit. Aboard the flagship, christened the HFY Defiant, Evelyn stood on the bridge alongside General Steele and Dr. Tanaka. The view screen showed hundreds of ships, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, all awaiting the order to jump into the unknown. Steele's voice cut through the tense silence. "All ships report ready, sir. The quantum mesh is fully operational. We're as prepared as we'll ever be." Evelyn took a deep breath, thinking back to that moment of humiliation in the council chambers. How far they had come since then. How much was at stake. She nodded to Steele. "Give the order, General. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." Steele's voice rang out across the quantum mesh, reaching every ship simultaneously. "All vessels, initiate quantum jump. Operation Trojan Horse is now in effect. For Earth and all of humanity, attack." In an instant, the fleet vanished from the Sol system, leaving behind only the faintest ripple in space-time. The counterattack had begun. Humanity's destiny among the stars hung in the balance. The counterattack. The Galactic Council's capital world, Zinthera, hung in space like a jewel, its crystalline spires and sprawling megalopolises a testament to the combined technological might of 1,000 worlds. The planet's orbital defense grid was said to be impenetrable, a web of energy fields and automated weapon platforms that had never been breached in the Council's long history. But the Council had never faced humanity before. In an instant, the serene space around Zinthera erupted into chaos. The Earth fleet materialized from quantum space, appearing inside the planet's defensive perimeter in a maneuver that should have been impossible. Alarms blared across the Council world as the supposedly primitive humans unleashed their opening salvo. Aboard the HFY Defiant, Evelyn Chen watched in awe as the first wave of quantum torpedoes streaked towards their targets. The weapons phased in and out of normal space, effortlessly bypassing shield barriers and point defense systems. Direct hits on primary targets. The weapons officer shouted, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "The Council's main command center is offline." General Steele's face was grim but satisfied. "Press the advantage. All ships, engage at will. Remember your training and stick to the plan." The space around Zinthera became a maelstrom of energy weapons, missiles, and debris as the Council's home fleet scrambled to respond to the unexpected assault. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked their alien opponents, each ship captain knowing that the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked feverishly at her console, coordinating the quantum mesh network. "The Council is trying to jam our communications," she reported, her fingers flying over holographic controls. "But they can't touch the quantum entanglement. We still have full coordination." This advantage proved crucial as the battle raged on. While individual Council ships were more advanced, the human fleet moved with uncanny synchronization, anticipating and countering enemy maneuvers almost before they began. On the planet's surface, High Counselor Zixera watched in horror as reports of the attack flooded in. The supposedly subjugated humans had not only developed technology to rival the Council's, but had managed to launch a surprise attack on the very heart of galactic civilization. "Impossible," Zixera muttered, compound eyes wide with disbelief. "How could we have underestimated them so badly?" As if in answer, a quantum torpedo phased through the shielding of the Council chamber. Zixera had only a moment to register shock before the weapon detonated, vaporizing the entire upper echelon of the Galactic Council in an instant. Back on the Defiant, Evelyn received confirmation of the strike. A mix of emotions washed over her, relief at the success of their plan, horror at the lives lost, and a grim determination to see this through to the end. "The Council leadership has been neutralized," she announced to the bridge crew. Initiating Phase 2 of the operation. Phase 2 involved deploying ground forces to secure key locations on Zinthara. Dropships streaked through the atmosphere, carrying elite human shock troops armed with reverse-engineered alien weaponry and powered armor suits that could go toe-to-toe with the Council's most advanced battle droids. Among these troops was Captain Aisha Khoury, leader of the 1st Terran Special Forces Unit. As her dropship weaved through anti-aircraft fire, she addressed her squad. "Remember your training," she shouted over the roar of re-entry. "We're not here for revenge. Our mission is to secure the Central Data Archive. With access to the Council's full knowledge base, we can ensure Earth's safety for generations to come." The dropship landed hard in the middle of Zinthara's capital city. Aisha and her team burst out, immediately engaging the Council's security forces. The aliens fought desperately, but they were disorganized and demoralized by the sudden loss of their leadership. Aisha's powered armor easily deflected energy blasts as she charged forward, her plasma rifle cutting down anyone who stood in her way. "Push forward," she yelled, rallying her troops. "The archive is just ahead." Meanwhile, in orbit, the space battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Council's home fleet, caught off guard and without central leadership, began to fragment. Some ships continued to fight, while others attempted to flee or surrender. On the Defiance Bridge, General Steele watched the tactical display with growing confidence. "We've got them on the ropes," he declared. "All ships, form up for the final push. Let's end this." But victory was not yet assured. As the human fleet consolidated its position, long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge from the far side of Zinthara's sun. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "General, Evelyn, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with concern. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a truly massive vessel emerging from behind the star. It dwarfed even the largest ships in the Council's fleet, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements. "The World Breaker," Evelyn breathed, recognizing the ship from intelligence reports. "The Council's doomsday weapon. We thought it was just a myth." Steele's jaw clenched. Seems the Council had one last card to play. "All ships, prepare for..." His words were cut off as a blinding beam of energy lanced out from the World Breaker, slicing through 3 human capital ships as if they were made of paper. The Defiant rocked violently as the energy wake passed nearby. "Evasive maneuvers," Steele bellowed. "All ships, scatter and regroup. We need a new plan, fast." As the human fleet desperately tried to regroup, the World Breaker advanced implacably towards Zinthara. Its intention was clear: to destroy the planet and the human fleet with it, wiping out any evidence of the Council's humiliation. Evelyn's mind raced. They had come so far, achieved the impossible. They couldn't fail now, not with Earth's fate hanging in the balance. She turned to Dr. Tanaka. An idea forming. The quantum mesh, she said urgently. Could we use it to coordinate a simultaneous strike on the world breaker? Hit it from all sides at once. Yuki's eyes lit up. Theoretically, yes, but we'd need to get quantum torpedoes past its defenses. The timing would have to be perfect. General Steele nodded grimly. It's our only shot. Send the order. Every ship with quantum torpedoes left. Prepare to fire on my mark. As the remains of the human fleet maneuvered into position, the world breaker charged its main weapon for another devastating blast. The next few moments would determine not just the outcome of the battle, but the fate of humanity itself. Evelyn looked out at the stars, at the massive ship that threatened everything they had fought for. In that moment, she felt the weight of every human life back on Earth, every hope and dream that rested on their success. For Earth, she whispered, as Steele gave the order to fire. Dozens of quantum torpedoes materialized simultaneously around the world breaker, phasing into existence mere meters from its hull. For a split second, the massive ship was outlined in brilliant light as the weapons detonated in perfect synchronization. The explosion was visible from the surface of Zinthora, a new star briefly born and dying in the space of a heartbeat. As the light faded, the bridge crew of the Defiant held their breath, waiting to see if their desperate gambit had paid off. Slowly, the debris field cleared, revealing the impossible. The world breaker, the Council's ultimate weapon, was no more. Where it had been, only scattered fragments of its once mighty hull remained, tumbling lifelessly through space. A moment of stunned silence fell over the bridge, broken by a single whoop of joy from a junior officer. In an instant, the Defiant erupted in cheers and cries of triumph. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had prevailed. As the reality of their victory sank in, Evelyn felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see General Steele, his usually stern face softened by a rare smile. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "I think it's time we accepted the Council's surrender. Care to do the honors?" Evelyn nodded, straightening her uniform as she stepped forward. The cheers died down as she cleared her throat, preparing to address not just the remnants of the Council's forces, but the entire galaxy. "Attention, forces of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "This is Dr. Evelyn Chen of Earth. Your leadership has fallen. Your superweapon is destroyed. We offer you this one chance to surrender unconditionally." She paused, allowing her words to sink in before continuing. "Know this, we came here not out of a desire for conquest, but to secure our right to exist free from tyranny. We have the power to destroy you utterly, but we choose a different path. Surrender now, and we can begin to forge a new future, one of mutual respect and cooperation between all sapient species." As Evelyn's message echoed across the quantum communications network, the remains of the Council's fleet began to power down their weapons. On the surface of Zinthora, alien troops laid down their arms, stunned by the sudden reversal of fortune. The great Galactic Council, which had stood unchallenged for millennia, had fallen to the very species they had dismissed as primitive just 1 year ago. As news of the battle spread across the galaxy, one thing became abundantly clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. Turning the tide. In the days following the Battle of Zinthora, the full impact of humanity's victory began to ripple across the galaxy. The defeat of the supposedly invincible Galactic Council sent shockwaves through every corner of known space. Species that had long chafed under the Council's rule saw an opportunity for freedom, while others feared the rise of this new, unpredictable power. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Streets filled with jubilant crowds, and for the first time in a year, people dared to hope for a future free from alien domination. But for those at the heart of Operation Trojan Horse, the work was far from over. Aboard the EFS Defiant, now in orbit around Zinthora, Evelyn Chen found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. As the architect of Earth's communication with the Council, she had become the de facto leader of the diplomatic efforts to reshape the galactic political landscape. "We need to move quickly," she addressed the assembled human leadership and the holographic representatives from Earth. "The power vacuum left by the Council's defeat won't last long. If we don't establish a new order, someone else will." General Steele nodded in agreement. "Our military advantage won't last forever. Every moment we wait gives other species time to reverse engineer our quantum technology." Dr. Yuki Tanaka spoke up, her hologram flickering slightly due to the vast distance. "We should focus on sharing knowledge." The Council hoarded technological advancements, keeping countless species in artificial darkness. If we open the central data archive to all, we could usher in an unprecedented era of growth and cooperation. The debate raged on, with arguments for everything from establishing a human-led empire to completely withdrawing from galactic affairs. In the end, a compromise was reached. Earth would propose the formation of a new galactic alliance, one based on principles of mutual respect, shared knowledge, and collective defense. Evelyn found herself once again addressing the galaxy, this time not as a harbinger of war, but as a voice of hope. Her message, translated into thousands of alien languages, spread across the quantum network. "To all sentient beings of the galaxy, I speak to you now not as a conqueror, but as a fellow traveler in the vast cosmos. The Galactic Council's fall presents us all with a choice: to continue down the path of domination and fear, or to forge a new way forward together." She outlined the proposal for the Galactic Alliance, emphasizing the principles of self-determination, mutual defense, and open exchange of knowledge. "We extend an invitation to all species to join us in this endeavor. Let us learn from the mistakes of the past and build a future worthy of the stars themselves." The response was overwhelming. Countless species, long oppressed or ignored by the Council, eagerly embraced the idea of the alliance. Others, particularly those who had held power under the old regime, were more hesitant, but the tide of change was undeniable. On Zinthara, the work of dismantling the Council's power structures and establishing the framework for the new alliance was monumental. Captain Aisha Khoury and her team, having successfully secured the Central Data Archive, now found themselves working alongside alien archivists to catalog and prepare the vast repository of knowledge for distribution. "It's ironic," Aisha remarked to one of her alien counterparts, a serpentine being named Sisith. "A year ago, we were scrambling to catch up to your technology. Now we're helping to share it with the entire galaxy." Sith's multifaceted eyes blinked in agreement. The Council's greatest flaw was its fear. Fear of change, fear of losing control. "Your species has shown us a different way." As the days turned to weeks, the shape of the new galactic order began to emerge. The Galactic Alliance took form, with Earth playing a central but not domineering role. The principles of the alliance were enshrined in a new charter, one that guaranteed the rights of all sentient species and established mechanisms for collective decision-making and conflict resolution. But not all were pleased with this new arrangement. On the fringes of known space, remnants of the old Council gathered, nursing their wounded pride and plotting revenge. Other, older powers that had remained hidden during the Council's reign began to stir, seeing opportunity in the changing tides of galactic politics. Aboard the Defiant, now serving as the temporary headquarters of the Alliance, Evelyn received a priority communication from Earth. The holographic form of UN Secretary-General Adebayo materialized, his expression grave. "Dr. Chen, we've received disturbing intelligence," he began without preamble. "It seems that several former Council species are mobilizing their fleets. They're calling for a restoration of order and denouncing the Alliance as human imperialism in disguise." Evelyn's heart sank. They had hoped for a peaceful transition, but it seemed that conflict was not yet behind them. "How many species are we talking about?" she asked. "At least 5 major powers," Adebayo replied. "And there are rumors of an ancient race, long thought extinct, emerging from some kind of temporal stasis. They call themselves the Precursors, and they're laying claim to the entire galaxy. General Steele, who had been listening silently, spoke up. So we've won the battle, but the war is far from over. Evelyn nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. We need to convene the Alliance leadership immediately. If we're going to face these threats, we need to stand united. As she moved to end the transmission, Adebayo's voice stopped her. Dr. Chen, there's one more thing. The quantum entanglement experiments back on Earth, they've yielded some unexpected results. Dr. Tanaka thinks. She thinks we might have accidentally opened a doorway to another universe. Evelyn stared at the hologram, momentarily speechless. Just when she thought the situation couldn't get any more complex, the universe, or universes, had thrown them another curveball. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, she managed finally. We'll deal with that development as soon as we've addressed the more immediate threats. As the hologram faded, Evelyn turned to look out at the star-filled vista beyond the Defiance viewport. Humanity had come so far, achieved so much, but it seemed their greatest challenges still lay ahead. Well, she murmured to herself, a small determined smile playing at her lips. No one ever said reshaping the galaxy would be easy. With that, she squared her shoulders and strode purposefully towards the bridge. There was work to be done, a fledgling alliance to protect, and an entire universe, perhaps even more than one, of possibilities to explore. The next chapter in humanity's great galactic adventure was about to begin. A new era. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council and the establishment of the Alliance. Earth, once a backwater planet on the fringes of galactic civilization, now stood at the center of a new interstellar order. The gleaming spires of New Geneva, the Alliance's capital city built on the ruins of the Council's stronghold on Zinthera, were a testament to how far humanity had come. Dr. Evelyn Chen, now serving as the Alliance's chief diplomat, stood at the window of her office, gazing out at the bustle of alien species coexisting peacefully below. The past 5 years had been a whirlwind of challenges and triumphs, each crisis averted bringing the galaxy closer to lasting stability. A chime at her door broke her reverie. Enter, she called, turning to greet her visitor. General Marcus Steele, his hair now streaked with gray, but his posture as ramrod straight as ever, strode into the room. Evelyn, he said, a rare smile softening his features. The latest reports from the Rim are in. Thought you'd want to see them immediately. Evelyn took the proffered datapad, her eyes quickly scanning the information. A slow smile spread across her face. The precursor threat, it's over. Steele nodded. Captain Corey's task force made contact with their leadership. Turns out, the whole claiming the galaxy thing was a giant misunderstanding. Their universal translators were malfunctioning after millennia in stasis. A laugh bubbled up from Evelyn's chest, equal parts relief and amusement. All that worry, all those sleepless nights, and it comes down to a faulty translation. Sometimes I think the universe has a sense of humor. Speaking of universal oddities, Steele said, his tone turning serious. Have you heard the latest from Dr. Tanaka's team? Evelyn's expression sobered. The accidental discovery of trans-universal travel had been both a blessing and a source of constant concern. What's she found now? It's easier if I show you, Steele replied, activating a holographic projector. The air between them shimmered, resolving into an image of what looked like a massive, ethereal web stretching into infinity. This is a visualization of what Yuki calls the multiverse lattice. Each node represents a different universe, each strand a potential connection. Evelyn stared in awe at the display. It's beautiful, she breathed. And terrifying. The implications are staggering. Steele finished for her. We're no longer just talking about our galaxy, or even our universe. The scope of what we're dealing with now is, well, it's beyond anything we could have imagined when we started this journey. As they contemplated the hologram, another chime sounded. The door slid open to reveal a Sith, the serpentine archivist who had become one of Evelyn's closest alien confidants. "Apologies for the intrusion," Sith hissed softly, "but the Council of Elders is assembling for an emergency session. Your presence is requested, Dr. Chen." Evelyn straightened, squaring her shoulders. "Thank you, Sith. We'll be right there." As the alien bowed and slithered away, she turned to Steele. "Duty calls, old friend. Shall we?" Together, they made their way through the winding corridors of the Alliance headquarters. Aliens of all shapes and sizes nodded respectfully as they passed, a far cry from the fear and hostility of years past. The council chamber was abuzz with activity as they entered. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the tiered seats, their chatter creating a symphony of alien languages. At the center of the room, a holographic display similar to the one in Evelyn's office dominated the space. As Evelyn took her place at the podium, a hush fell over the assembly. She looked out at the sea of alien faces, marveling once again at the unlikely path that had brought them all together. "Esteemed members of the Alliance," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "we stand at a crossroads unlike any species, has faced before. The discovery of the multiverse lattice presents us with opportunities and challenges beyond our wildest imaginings." She gestured to the holographic display. "Each of these points of light represents a universe teeming with life, with possibilities, and yes, with potential dangers. We have before us a choice. Do we reach out into this vast unknown, or do we turn inward, focusing on our own realm?" The chamber erupted in discussion, arguments flying back and forth in a cacophony of alien tongues. Evelyn let the debate rage for a moment before raising her hand for silence. "I propose a middle path," she continued. "We establish a dedicated multiversal exploration and defense force. Tasked with carefully probing these connections between universes, we proceed with caution, but we do proceed. After all, it was curiosity and the drive to explore that brought us all together in the first place." She paused, looking around the room. 5 years ago, humanity was on the brink of enslavement or extinction. Today, we stand united with beings we once thought impossible, at the threshold of discoveries beyond imagination. We've come this far by daring to reach for the stars. Let us now dare to reach beyond them, into the very fabric of reality itself. As Evelyn's words rang out, a sense of shared purpose seemed to fill the chamber. One by one, representatives stood, signaling their assent. The motion passed with overwhelming support. Later, as the session adjourned, Evelyn found herself once again at the window of her office, General Steele at her side. The twin suns of Zinthera were setting, painting the sky in hues of purple and gold. "So," Steele said, breaking the comfortable silence, "multiversal exploration. You certainly don't think small, do you?" Evelyn chuckled. "Would you have it any other way? Besides, someone has to keep you on your toes in your golden years." Steele snorted, but there was no heat in it. "I'll have you know I'm in my prime. Thank you very much. Someone's got to whip this new multiversal defense force into shape." As they bantered, Evelyn's gaze drifted to a small hologram on her desk, an image of Earth, blue and beautiful. From a primitive world cowering under alien threats to a leader in a galactic alliance, poised to explore multiple universes, it had been an incredible journey. "You know," she said softly, "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the Council hadn't been so dismissive of us that first day. If they had welcomed us with open arms instead of mockery." Steele considered this for a moment. "We'd probably still be a backwater protectorate, content with table scraps of technology and knowledge." Evelyn nodded. "Their greatest mistake was underestimating humanity. Let's make sure we never make the same mistake with whatever we encounter out there in the multiverse." As night fell on Zinthara, lights began to twinkle in the city below. Ships from 100 worlds moved through the sky, a dance of cooperation and shared progress. And somewhere, in laboratories and shipyards across Alliance space, preparations were already beginning for humanity's next great adventure. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate humans. Now, it seemed, the multiverse was about to learn the same. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Evelyn knew one thing for certain. It was going to be one hell of a ride.